I want a life partner, not a romantic partner, not a buddy. And if we're gonna be friends, I want you to be clear about that. And if we're gonna be nothing, please be clear about that.
This is the reality of one of TikTok's most controversial creators, Lexity.
Hey, sweet pea, so you're not gonna like this take, but drunk people can absolutely consent to sex. I was an alcoholic for a long time. I was drunk every single day for like 3 years. I had a lot of sex during that time, and it wasn't all coercive. I knew what I was doing.
A 26-year-old transgender woman from Tulsa, Oklahoma, gained attention not through her content, but through constant meltdowns about breakups.
Hey, sweet pea, so sometimes when people ask you to hang out, it's because they fucking need someone, and I have been alone for so goddamn long, everybody just stares at me, and most people don't like me because I'm trans and punk, and nobody wants to be around me. I need someone in my life who will just spend 10 minutes to give me a hug. Ever! Goddamn! I am so, I can't do this. I can't do this.
And for claiming to be a slut and a whore.
Hey, sweet pea, so I'm a transbian bop. I thought you knew that. I'm also like a slut and a whore, in case you didn't know. Hope you're having a lovely day.
From screaming on live streams.
Not fucking see the consequences. I will change. I will change the world through sheer rage.
To twisting the story of her mother evicting her just to gain sympathy.
Hey, sweet pea, so I got kicked out of my house with literally 20 minutes notice because my mother filed a false restraining order against me because she broke into my room and screamed at me to move out when I was naked in my bed with a sexual partner.
Her pattern has left many questioning her character in the comment section with comments that read, "So weird how you end up being the victim in every single situation. Maybe you are the problem. This whole video is a joke as it's her house, not yours as a grown man." But what would happen if on top of all this, she was actually arrested? Let's find that out. Now, the arrest story started a few months back when some reports began to come to light that a person named Anastasia Alexandria Lennon, popularly known as Lexity, was arrested for assault. But this was not just any form of assault on any person. It was revealed that she was arrested for assaulting a pregnant woman, and to make it worse, she was actually refusing arrest when the police tried to detain her. Now, the surprising thing here is that the very site that posted it took it down almost as soon as it went up. Because of that, it might not seem believable at first the source disappeared so quickly, but then Lexity herself decided to clear the air on the issue, probably after she was released. And the way she did it on a live stream actually made things even worse. At first, she began by blaming the cops for her arrest.
It's okay. I never trusted people who trust cops, and I continue to not trust people who trust cops. Because that's, because ACAB. I thought ACAB was like, I don't know, like a thing? I thought that. I don't know. Maybe not within the communities that, like, care. Doing what? I don't like cops either. I don't like cops either.
This is quite funny because who would blame the cops for arresting them when they do something wrong? Like, that's literally their job. And this was something most viewers were quick enough to point out in the comments of the live stream. They were telling her to kindly take accountability for her actions instead of pointing fingers. And many of their comments would read along these lines. Everyone predicted that you would start blaming the cops and acting like a victim when you got out. Do you never take accountability? And to take things further, she went on to actually accept this claim. But here's the tricky part. She didn't literally say that she hit someone. Instead, she tried to play around with her words and rephrased it into something else.
I have never non-consensually hit a woman. In my entire life, I have never non-consensually.
So the main talking point from this should be the word consensual. Because for Lexity to say that she has never hit a woman without consent just sounds weird at first. Like, why would someone let you hit them in the first place? But that's one part. The second part here is that she clearly knows that hitting someone is wrong, and yet she still went on to do it. And if there was truly consent with this woman, then the women would not have gone to inform the police about it afterwards. That alone shows that her explanation does not really add up. But that's not all. She then went ahead to claim that she never came across a pregnant human at all. At this point, the person who was recording the live stream had to step in and actually show the comments to arrest to prove that she was indeed being dishonest about that part.
There was never a pregnant woman. There was never a pregnant woman. There are no charges. Okay. I'm gonna go now. Hope you have a lovely day. Unless you are who you are, and then I hope you have the day you deserve. Actually, everyone can have that. Everyone can have the day.
Now, with these documents coming to light, it became even clearer that Lexity was just trying to twist the story in her favor. Instead of taking accountability, she first blamed the cops, then tried to water down what happened by calling it consensual, and finally tried to deny the part about the women being pregnant altogether. Each step she took only made the story worse for her. And that brings the biggest question that should come. Who exactly is this person? And how does she come this far on the internet? Well, to figure this out, let's rewind back to 2020. Anastasia Alexandria Lennon, more popularly known as Lexity, is a 26-year-old transgender woman who comes from Tulsa, Oklahoma. She began her journey into social media just a few years ago, around 2020, and in that relatively short span of time, she has managed to build a massive following. On TikTok alone, she has gained well over 140,000 followers, while on Instagram she currently boasts an audience of more than 287,000 people. Interestingly, Lexity did not start her social media career with the type of controversies that many influencers tend to lean on for quick attention. Instead, her early content was very simple and engaging. She would post short clips about quick fun facts that viewers could enjoy casually in their feed.
Hey sweetie, this is just a friendly reminder for you to change your ceiling fan into summer mode. If you didn't know, your ceiling fan has two modes, one that's good for winter and one that's good for summer. Basically, in the summer, you want it blowing in one direction, and in the winter, you want it blowing in the other direction, because hot air rises. So if you want the space to be warmer, you want the fan to be blowing down. So it brings the hot air at the center of the room down in the center of the room, and the cold air at the bottom of the room gets pushed down into the sides of the room, right? If the fan is pushing down, it will warm the center of the room and cool the edges. And vice versa if it's blowing in the opposite direction, right? In the summer, you want it pulling up. That way, it pulls the cold air at the center of the room up into the center of the room, and the hot air at the top of the room gets blown up into the sides of the room, right? Does that make any sense? Make sure your ceiling fan's in the right mode, okay? I love you.
After gaining traction with these light-hearted posts, Lexity slowly shifted her focus toward more personal and inspirational style of content. She began to dabble in motivational speaking, where she would speak directly to her fans and remind them of their worth, encouraging them to value themselves and their lives.
Hey, sweet. Did you know you're valuable? Incredibly so. In fact, you're definitely the most valuable part of your own life. And time spent taking care of yourself is definitely not time wasted. You're beautiful. Go take care of yourself for a little while. You deserve to take up space, and you deserve to take time feeling good. You love me.
And this new direction resonated with many people, and it helped her build a large and loyal community she has today. Fans appreciated that she was not only entertaining, but also offering positive messages of self-love and empowerment. In fact, this is a big part of why her audience continues to grow. The comments of her posts would often read, "Warms my heart every time I see you. Thanks, I needed that." But one thing that Lexity is very particular about, and something she holds in high esteem, is the way she is identified. For most transgender people, being addressed correctly is extremely important. When someone uses the wrong terms or pronouns, it can be seen as disrespectful or even transphobic. In Lexity's case, she has taken this further by making it clear how she wishes to be recognized. She identifies as omnigender, meaning she embraces both masculine and feminine aspects within herself.
Hey, sweet pea. So I'm legally non-binary. Like on my birth certificate, it says non-binary because I'm omnigender. I identify as a woman all of the time, and sometimes I'm also a man. A good portion of the time, actually. So, yeah.
However, despite this broad identity, she has expressed that she prefers to be addressed as she. This is an important distinction for her, and one that she has spoken about openly on her platforms, even getting angry when people kept on asking the same question.
Hey, sweet pea. So asking people's pronouns in a space where it is very publicly displayed is actually kind of rude, and at a certain point becomes oppression of its own. Like, it's not up to me to drop everything I'm doing and explain to you what my pronouns are because you're too lazy to go check my profile. It's very publicly displayed, and if you want to know what my pronouns are, you can go put in a minuscule amount of effort and stop interrupting me while I'm live streaming. Because people often do interrupt me to ask me what my pronouns are, and then they won't even use my pronouns to refer to me, which tells me that they're either just trying to otherize me on purpose, or more likely it's just the thing they've been told they're supposed to do when they see a visibly queer person, which just ends up otherizing me when you're not actually having a conversation with me, you're just going through the motions of what you've been told a conversation with a queer person looks like. And again, it's not up to me to drop everything I'm doing so I can explain my very publicly displayed pronouns. You would be annoyed if you were wearing a name tag and somebody kept asking what your name was anyways. It's rude to ask people on social media what their pronouns are when their pronouns are very publicly displayed. I love you.
But while she's open about how she wants to be addressed and how she views her gender, Lexity has also taken things a step further by addressing issues that many people don't even consider problematic. Now, for example, in one of her fun fact sessions, she decided to speak directly to parents about the impact of sexuality on children. According to her, dressing your kids in specific colors such as pink or blue is wrong, because it supposedly gives people an insight into what your child's genitals are.
Hey, sweet pea. So if you think that gender and sex are the same thing, why do you think that it is normal to color code your children so that strangers know what their genitals look like? You know, in my system, one where gender and sex are separate things, dressing your children doesn't let strangers know what their genitals look like, because that's a weird thing for you to want strangers to know about your children. Yeah?
Now, on the surface, this might look like someone simply sharing their personal views on cultural matter, but when you scroll down the comment section, that's where the real concern begins to show. Many viewers did not see this as an innocent opinion. Instead, they called out how strange the reasoning behind her statement was. The comments often read things like, "Imagine comparing a little girl wearing pink to wanting strangers to know what it looks like downstairs." Well, you see, these two comments alone point out exactly why the video was so controversial, because while everyone is entitled to their own opinion, some opinions cross a line when the intent behind them drives at something else entirely. In this case, when people see a child, whether the parents dress them in pink, blue, or any other color, what they notice is the cuteness of the child, not their genitals, of course. At least someone who is remotely sane. So when Lexity made this statement, many viewers felt it gave off the wrong impression, one that carried a disturbing undertone and even a pedophilic vibe. So while her rise on the internet has been swift, and while her content has been built on her personal story, her identity, and her unique way of engaging with audience, there are also aspects of her personality that have raised serious red flags. One of the biggest concerns among her followers has been her anger management. In recent months, Lexity has been seen on live streams screaming far more than speaking calmly. And this pattern has not gone unnoticed.
We cannot do that! We cannot do that! We can just get attention because we want attention! You know, Marcy has an OnlyFans that she's been trying to work on.
Because of this behavior, many things in her personal life have started to go downhill. And one of the most striking examples of how her anger has impacted her real-world situation is her housing arrangements. Unlike many influencers who use their platforms to upgrade their lifestyles, Lexity currently lives in a van. But here's why she ended up in that situation. From the very start of her life in the media, she had been living in a house, one that belonged to her mother. Everything seemed stable until one day when she came online and shared that her mother had kicked her out. According to Lexity, her mother walked in on her in bed with her partner while she was naked. And from that point, things escalated.
So I got kicked out of my house with literally 20 minutes notice because my mother filed a false restraining order against me because she broke into my room and screamed at me to move out when I was naked in my bed with a sexual partner.
Now, based on what Lexity shared, as soon as she saw her mother, she was overwhelmed with anger and immediately began screaming at her. That outburst, she claimed, pushed her mother to throw her out of the house and eventually take her to court by giving her a restraining order.
She had been gone for several months, by the way, and just kind of returned home, and I hadn't consciously been aware of the fact that she was going to return home, so I was not prepared for someone to just run into my room and scream at me. So I screamed at her, right, to get out of my room, and she lied. She said that I threatened her life. I did not threaten her life. I did threaten my own life, I think, and I yelled at her and told her to get out of my room because I was extremely emotionally distraught. As you might imagine, if you're woken up early in the morning with a sexual partner in your bed by someone yelling at you that you're not expecting to be there. Anyways, after getting kicked out of my home, I had 28 days to respond to that restraining order. I went to court and immediately got it dismissed, but, you know, like 28 days had passed, and I wasn't going to move back into a place that I was unwelcome, and all my stuff had been moved out of there. And technically a month had passed since she told me she wanted me to move out. So she had given me enough notice, technically, even though I got 20 minutes of actual notice. Isn't that lovely? And then, because she falsely accused me of being violent, people now think I'm a violent person and regularly falsely accuse me of that because, well, I'm trans, and they love to believe that. Seriously. It's great. I love being a minority. I don't.
Listening to her explanation, one thing becomes clear. Lexity paints the picture as though her mother was entirely at fault. However, this was something that many viewers didn't buy. The comment section under her post was filled with people urging her to take responsibility for her own actions instead of always shifting blame. Some comments even accused her for deliberately twisting the story to make herself look like the victim. Now, the problem here is that this incident reflects the same pattern seen in her arrest situation. A lack of accountability, whether it was blaming the cops during the arrest or blaming her mother during this fallout. Viewers had started to notice a trend, and that is what gets them upset. Not just the events themselves, but the way she refuses to admit any fault. After being removed from her mother's house, Lexity was left with nowhere to stay. To solve this, she set up a GoFundMe campaign asking her fans and supporters to contribute so she could buy a van to live in. Surprisingly, she managed to raise over $32,000, which allowed her to quickly purchase the van. She was so excited that she rushed online to share the news, posting videos showing her new home and expressing gratitude for the support she received.
Hey, Sweet Pea, so I got my van. Look, it's so big. There's so much room in here for activities, although it's unconverted, like entirely. So I have a bunch of work that I need to get done before I can really live in here comfortably. But it is a place that has a roof over it that I can take with me, which is all I really, really need. I do have to figure out what I'm going to do with my Jetta today, but it's a piece of crap. So they offered me $1 at the dealership. Was just very insulting, actually. Everything they did at that dealership was very insulting. I got the feeling they didn't like me, probably because of my whole gender thing, you know what I mean? But that's okay, I'm done with them now. What do I do with a car that I need to get rid of today? If all else fails, I'm just going to try and pawn it, but like, you know, I don't know, what do I do with it? Can I donate it somewhere? Is that an option? I don't know. What do I do? It's not a good car. It's a piece of crap, but it's a car, and it runs.
Following that, she continued to update her audience by posting clips of the van's state of development, showing the progress she was making as she converted it into a livable space.
So to cut a very long story short, after driving around this entire country trying to find anyone who actually wanted to be there for me through some very difficult times I was going through, I actually found that. This is my house. This is my home. It's my partner's house, but I live here. I actually have a lease here just because that was the easiest way for me to get proof of address, and I needed a proof of address to get my ID changed to this state and also to get my sink for my van, which is actually the last thing I really need to do on my van other than put in solar panels and I suppose just keep adding stuff. I'm not really ever going to be done, but I want to get the sink in there, and that's like the last major thing I need to do before it's like a living space. However, this is my house, and I have managed to find myself a loving partner. She loves me very much, and a dog who also loves me very much, and a lot of stability for myself. I hope you remember that change is the only constant thing in the world. Like, everything always changes, and if you hold on long enough, everything always gets better. Good is inevitable. Just hold on a little longer, okay? I love you.
At first, this seemed like a happy ending because Lexity had turned a rough situation into something positive by creating her own living space with the help of her fans. But this was only the surface level of the story. Behind it, her anger and her attitude brought something much worse. A series of serious allegations. These allegations were not about her van or her housing alone, but about the way she treated people around her, the way she handled criticism, and the manner in which she constantly shifted blame instead of accepting mistakes for once. Fans who once supported her started voicing concerns about being manipulated. Some even claimed they regretted donating money after seeing how she continued to spiral into angry outbursts and controversial statements. This created a divide within her community. On one side were those who still believed in her vision and saw her as a victim of circumstances. On the other side were those who felt deceived, arguing that her problems were not about society treating her unfairly, but about her own refusal to manage her emotions and accept responsibility. And this is where Lexity's story becomes so complicated. One of the most shocking controversies that Lexity has faced came from a creator named Marcella. According to Marcella, she first came into contact with Lexity after seeing this video where Lexity openly admitted that she was in a crisis mood and needed as much help and support as she could get.
So sometimes when people ask you to hang out, it's because they need someone, and I have been alone for so goddamn long. Everybody just stares at me, and most people don't like me because I'm trans and punk, and nobody wants to be around me. I need someone in my life who will just spend 10 minutes to give me a hug. Ever! Goddamn! I am so... I can't do this. I can't do this.
Now, because of how touching and raw this video felt, Marcella felt compelled to reach out and support her. She explained how much it struck a chord with her and how she felt the need to be there for Lexity in some way.
A person that is online. I followed this person because I thought they were very attractive and interesting looking, and their videos were like very soothing to watch. And they posted a video of themselves like in crisis mode, and they needed someone there for them, and disclosed that they were in Southern Oregon, which I hadn't known about. I didn't realize they were so close to me, like they could have been anywhere. And so I reached out.
But here's the catch. Marcella herself was not in the best position either. She was already struggling with her own mental health challenges and was undergoing therapy at that time. So for her, deciding to step in and support someone else who was also in a fragile state was not an easy task at all. In fact, she admitted that putting herself in that position was a huge risk because she was barely holding herself together.
And I think I was talking about physical therapy and just kind of losing it. I ended up going on a medical leave because I was sort of spiraling with the post-concussion stuff, and I needed like time off of work to get out of that spiral, to continue to make progress, and to continue being able to do the physical therapy.
Yet, even with all of this going on in her life, Marcella still chose to go the extra mile. Literally. She traveled miles to Oregon, where Lexity was based, just to meet her in person. And when she finally did, things seemed to click almost instantly. The two of them were in need of emotional connection, and it felt like they had both found what they were searching for. In Marcella's case, this was especially significant because she had been longing for a partner with very specific qualities, and as she put it, Lexity seemed to meet all of those descriptions perfectly.
Yearning for a partner and like creating a picture in my head of what this partner would be like in a physical sense and also in an emotional sense and in intelligence wise. And she like hit the nail on the head with most of it.
So they went ahead with their meeting, and their first date happened at a restaurant where they had dinner together. And in that very moment, things appeared to be going really well. Although it was the first time for Marcella to meet a public figure, the chemistry was there, the connection was genuine, and both women seemed relieved to finally have someone by their side who understood what they were going through.
We had dinner. I was quite nervous because I've never met like a public figure, you know. Obviously, there's a power dynamic happening there, and I am pretty good at refraining from developing like parasocial relationships. Like I watch people online, but I don't really like allow myself to become attached to them. So I felt like it was fine because I was just seeing this person as a person that just needed help. And we hit it off pretty well. Like, we were obviously both into each other.
For a while, it looked like the start of a promising relationship because the two of them were just the opposite. Marcella, for instance, openly said she wanted to be submissive and controlled, while Lexity, on the other hand, showed traits of wanting to be the one in control, judging from the behavior we have seen from her in the past. So, like the saying goes, opposites attract. And that was exactly what seemed to be happening here.
Is that in the past I've become very anxiously attached to people and like unhealthily codependent very early on, either in an emotional sense or like out of survival, like for a place to live.
But what the popular saying doesn't tell you is that all opposites that attract can actually stick together. And in the case of Marcella and Lexity, the relationship only lasted a few weeks before it fell apart. The reason for the quick fallout was because even though Marcella admitted she was dependent and submissive, she was also trying to solve her own problem of attachment issues. Since she wasn't clinging to Lexity as much as expected, Lexity became angry and decided to upload a video calling this out. In this clip, she basically claimed that if Marcella wanted to be with her, then it had to be a full-time deal or nothing.
Sweetie. So my main experience in the dating world is that people will assume I'm their abusive ex and then push me away constantly because of it. And I'm nothing like that person, but when they push me away enough, I eventually get upset, which I told them would happen because I have CPTSD and BPD. And one of my main triggers is people pushing me away because I have abandonment issues, goddamn. And I tell them that. And that's not an excuse for me overreacting. It's still my responsibility to be clear with my boundaries and leave before I get to the point of overreacting, right? And I don't ever do that. I'm just too compassionate, and I stay to the point where I blow up, even though I know it's gonna happen and I warn them that it's gonna happen. And when I do blow up, they blame me entirely and forget that I'm overreacting, not reacting. I'm reacting to something, okay? I might have an unreasonable reaction that isn't okay to do, but it is a reaction to something that you did. You stepped all over my boundaries. I told you that if you kept pushing me away, I was gonna react this way. I know what my triggers are, and you entirely ignored that because you assumed I was your abusive ex. And maybe the problem with your abusive ex wasn't that you got overcommitted to someone. It's that you got overcommitted to a person who was gonna treat you like get committed to someone or don't be with me. I want a life partner, not a romantic partner, not a buddy. And if we're gonna be friends, I want you to be clear about that. And if we're gonna be nothing, please be clear about that. Like, if you want to be in a relationship with me, you need to want a life partner, someone who you are willing to share every single aspect of your life with.
So from what Lexity is saying here, she wanted Marcella to constantly be around her, almost in a clingy manner. But Marcella wasn't giving that level of attention, which is understandable. She was simply trying to take things slow to actually get to know Lexity better before fully attaching herself. She even later confessed that one of her biggest mistakes in their relationship was jumping into it without first building a friendship, and that ruined everything for her.
In my head, when I think about a healthy relationship, you guys become friends first. You become really good friends first, and you learn about each other. And then you start to see what it's like to build up a partnership after that. So that you build like a healthy foundation, but this was very far from that.
The main issue between them boiled down to how differently they approached the relationship. Marcella wanted to lay a foundation through friendship and hanging out, but this was not something Lexity was interested in. Instead of appreciating Marcella's approach, Lexity got angry again, which created more tension.
She was very triggered by my attachment style. I wanted time. I wanted to get to know her. I just kind of wanted to exist with each other. Like, let's, go out and do fun things. Let's watch movies together. Let's hang out. Let's not become so, crazy attached right from the beginning. Let's build this slowly so that I don't crash and burn, and so you don't crash and burn. But that was very triggering to them, just because of past relationships they've had. So my past relationships and their past relationships were very conflicting, and we were very triggering to each other.
With this building up and considering what we already know about Lexity's anger issues, things started getting ugly. According to Marcella, she began to experience verbal abuse from Lexity. She claimed that Lexity would scream at her, call her all sorts of names, and constantly belittle her during their interactions.
Screaming across the room, screaming in my face, stomping around, stumbling around because they were so drunk, leaving, and then coming back. I was very scared.
Lexity, however, did not accept these accusations quietly. She responded by saying that Marcella was only making up these claims for attention, dismissing her side of the story as exaggerated or false.
What am I supposed to do? Literally, what am I supposed to do? Fine, she's being a big baby, and she's trying to get attention off of me because, like, I don't know why. But that is what's going on. Because, like, yeah, it really wasn't that big of a deal. Okay? I said I was sorry because I am sorry. And it was normal human behavior. Okay? Like, sometimes humans make mistakes. She also made mistakes, and she should take accountability for what she did. See, this is the thing. Narcissist, how do narcissists die? And you're gonna say, oh, this is victim blaming. You know, and I do take responsibility for acting. I should have done better. She doesn't say she should have done better. So, like, me, I'm accepting responsibility. I'm like, hey, these are the things I should have worked on. And she's going, yeah, actually, I'm not responsible at all. This is the things she should have worked on. Now, which of us sounds like a narcissist in this situation?
The comments that came out of this live stream were not in her favor. Many viewers quickly pointed out that Lexity's response showed once again her refusal to take responsibility. Instead of addressing the claims seriously, she brushed them off and mocked Marcella. So, it means it's okay to abuse people? You gotta work on yourself, baby. It's not that simple. Now, let's analyze this carefully. If Marcella's only offense in the relationship was wanting to build a stronger foundation through friendship, then why would she have been insulted or screamed at? And besides, nobody is forced to enter into a friendship or relationship. If what the other person is offering is not enough or doesn't suit you, the mature option is to walk away instead of resorting to verbal abuse and then going on live stream to dismiss them as a baby. And the most frustrating part of this situation is that this wasn't even a one-time issue. Marcella was not the first or the last to call out Lexity for this kind of behavior. In fact, others came forward with similar complaints, and instead of reflecting on their actions, Lexity often makes statements that make the situation even worse. This is why her story continues to spark so much controversy online and gets worse as we continue. It gets worse because even after everything she did to Marcella, she goes on live stream to say that even though she does abusive things, that doesn't make her abusive in any way.
No, I'm not I'm sorry about Marcella. You called it abusive yourself? Okay, it's abusive behavior, but that doesn't make me an abusive person. Like I made a mistake. Yeah, sure. Okay. That doesn't make me an abuser. Yeah. Like an abuser is someone who has a pattern of abuse that they repeat, not makes a mistake once and does something that was abusive. Like, there's a difference. And I guess I should have phrased that earlier before, but it was a mistake and it was a bad thing to do, but I'm not an abusive person. And I'm not building abusive relationships, you know? I don't know, it doesn't matter. We're just gonna block anyone who says that. Okay, seriously, we're gonna restart.
The second person to fall victim to Lexity's anger issue is a creator who goes by the name Marcy. Her story started in a very similar way that of Marcella, and according to Marcy, she first came in contact with Lexity at a bar, where the two of them hit it off right away. After that initial meeting, they weren't able to see each other again for a while, but they kept in touch and began chatting frequently. Their conversations quickly grew deeper as they started sharing more personal details with one another.
Hi, I'm Marcy. I'm here to talk about the situation that I encountered with Anastasia/Lexity today. I am going to just jump right into it. Let me make sure my earbud is in. Okay. So I met Anastasia about 2 months ago, I would say, here at a local bar in Southern Oregon. It was very natural. I didn't know about their following at first, so that wasn't something that persuaded me to know Lexity. We didn't get the chance to hang out for a few months, which was fine. We were texting back and forth. It was good. A little backstory.
As the time passed and their bond seemed to strengthen, Marcy developed a level of trust in Lexity. She began to open up about her personal struggles, especially the problems she was facing in her relationship. And according to Marcy, Lexity actually gave her advice and helped her through some of those issues, which only made Marcy feel even more comfortable around her.
While I was in Tennessee over the holidays, I did discuss some things about what I was going through in my relationship with her, looking for support, looking for advice. She gave me advice. It was fine. We moved on. There was no weird feelings whatsoever.
Because of the way things were going, both of them eventually agreed to take the next step and finally meet in person to talk things over properly. Now, this part is very important to keep in mind because what happened next was downright disturbing. After a number of failed attempts, the two eventually managed to arrange a dinner meeting. But once they sat down together, Lexity asked Marcy a question that completely changed the tone of the night.
So I come back, we try and plan a hangout, it doesn't work. We plan another hangout, which was 2 days ago. She said she wanted to take me out to dinner, so I was like, heck yeah, that sounds awesome. I've been wanting to actually talk with you and pick your brain, and so I was very excited. Anastasia seemed very respectable to me as a person. It's like a pure goddess. That's the first impression I got. So 2 days ago, we planned the hangout. I get picked up by her in her van, and the first thing I'm asked is, are you in an open relationship?
Now let's pause for a moment and really think about that question. The reason this raised so many concerns is that over the years, Lexity has been very vocal about her stance on relationships. She has repeatedly made it clear that she does not support open relationships. Now for clarity, an open relationship means when partners agree to see or be with other people while still being together. But Lexity has stated in multiple videos that she is not open to that lifestyle. She does not believe in a one-on-one relationship and even argues that stepping outside of that commitment is not a form of cheating.
Hey, sweet pea. So if your definition of polyamory has rules made by people who aren't involved in the relationship, I think you missed the entire point, right? I don't care if you think I should be doing polyamory this way or that way. My partner's opinion is actually the only one that really matters to me. My partner's opinions. They get to set the boundaries, but you don't get to say anything, right? I get to do whatever I want, as long as it doesn't cross anyone's boundaries. Because that's what polyamory is about. And if you're just making up new rules, that's not the point. That's the opposite of the point.
Anyways, when the question came, Marcy was open and honest enough to tell her no. And for most normal people, that would usually be the end of the conversation. If someone sets a boundary, you respect it and move on. But not Lexity. Instead of backing off, she doubled down with her persuasive nature. She realized that trying to use the angle of an open relationship wasn't going to work, so she shifted to a different tactic. Now Lexity was trying to persuade Marcy to leave her relationship altogether.
And from the get-go, it seems like Anastasia is pressuring me to want her more than I want my current partner.
This is where things really cross the line. Remember, Marcy had confided in Lexity about the struggle she was having with her partner. Instead of being a supportive friend, Lexity tried to use that vulnerability to her own advantage. And here's the key detail. At that time, Lexity herself was in a relationship, so the idea of pressuring someone to leave their partner while she had one of her own does not make sense. It felt manipulative, and Marcy was quick to point that out during the retelling of the situation.
And I will say, you know, I do go to my friends for relationship advice, support, whatever that may entail. But what I believe in is that it is not okay to try and force somebody out of their relationship they're currently in and try and persuade them that they deserve better, because that's very harmful.
You see, this wasn't the first time Marcy had ever confided in someone during a difficult stage in her life. She genuinely saw Lexity as a friend, someone she could open up to. But unfortunately, that wasn't Lexity's intention at all. Instead, she continued to mount pressure on Marcy to walk away from her relationship, as if that was the only solution.
Anastasia was pressuring me to, you know, understand that I deserved better and I needed to leave my relationship, and somebody like her could treat me so much better, and that, you know, I'm obviously a submissive woman that needs a dominant mommy to take care of her, which I do not.
Now, for those who might be confused by the term mommy dummy that Marcy mentioned, let's break it down. Over the years, Lexity has repeatedly identified herself as a mommy dummy type. What this means is that in her relationships, she takes on the full role of control and dominance. In her own words, she's the one who decides, does everything, and essentially dictates how things go, while the other person just sits back and accepts it.
Hey, Sweet Pea, so I'm a mommy dom, and that's not just a thing. It's a thing that I am in romantic relationships outside of the bedroom. I want to cook for you. I want to run you a bath. I want to take care of you, and I want to hold you and tell you that you're safe and listen to your emotions and do the things that I wish my mother had done for me when I was a child. And yes, it does come from trauma, and that's okay, right? Everything comes from trauma. Trauma shapes us, and just because you can say, oh, you have mommy issues, yes I do, and I handle them very well, I give consenting adults a comforting, welcoming space where they can be emotionally vulnerable and feel taken care of, so I can experience vicariously the childhood I never got. What's bad about that? And if you think being a mommy dom is just a sex thing, you know nothing about BDSM culture. It is so much more than just a thing. It is a thing.
But when you really think about it, this dynamic isn't healthy at all. Relationships are supposed to be a two-way street. Both parties give, share, and balance each other out. When one person comes all out trying to control everything, it doesn't feel like love or partnership anymore. It begins to feel like a predator hunting its prey. And in Lexity's case, this type of dominance didn't grow naturally. It seems to have come from trauma. Trauma might explain why she feels the need to control, but it doesn't excuse the damage it causes, does it? And this is the main problem. Anyone carrying unresolved trauma should not be looking for people to dominate or hurt in relationships. Instead, they should seek healing and help. But what Lexity has done over and over is channel that trauma into unhealthy behaviors that leave the people around her feeling broken or manipulated. Even in this situation with Marcy, despite feeling her boundaries were already crossed, Marcy still tried to remain respectful. She didn't want to cause a fight, and she didn't want to completely cut off Lexity at first. But instead of appreciating Marcy's patience, Lexity kept pushing. She continued to test the limits, refusing to back down even after Marcy had already said no.
I continued to be nice and sweet and kind of shy, to where I believe she took that on her own to be like, oh, this person is shy because she's being activated into her submissive mode because I need to be her dommy mommy. And that's not the case. I was very insecure. I was nervous. I didn't know how to tell this person that I felt like they kept breaking my boundaries, because I'm still working on it.
This pattern shows us a lot about Lexity's personality, because the next thing she does is that she begins to preach to Marcy, telling her why she's the perfect fit for the relationship. completely ignoring the fact that Marcy had already told her no.
And she was very intense with the, like, why are you even with him? Like, are you sure, that's what you want for yourself? Because don't you believe that you deserve better? And like, of course, I always believe I deserve the best for myself. But it was hard to be like, yo, like, this is my life though. Like,
Once again, this is where things turn from persistence to outright disrespect. Persuading someone to leave a partner she's still invested in is already wrong, but here's the bigger issue. We don't even know if Marcy is into women at all. That makes the entire approach even more questionable. And for the fact that Lexity has a track record of misinterpreting people's intentions, this was definitely very wrong. Marcy only ever wanted a friend at that moment in her life. Even Marcella, the first person we talked about, was not seeking anything romantic. She too only wanted a friend. But Lexity has a way of pushing people into situations they never asked for, as if her desires automatically outweigh the other person's boundaries.
Tell me what I've been doing wrong in my own life here. Like, just because I gave a small indicator that I needed some friends because I was going through a hard time in a relationship situation. That's not fair to me.
And yet, things got even worse as the evening continued. As they stepped out of dinner, Lexity made a move that crossed a line no one should cross. She not only tried to kiss Marcy, but then grabbed her by the boot.
And just sit and digest. And Anastasia was trying to kiss me. I was kind of trying to pull away and just not give in to that. And then next thing I know, Anastasia is groping. I froze because I didn't know what to do. I'm a non-confrontational person. I want to be nice more than I want to be mean. So that kind of gets me into trouble sometimes because I have a hard time being like, hey, that wasn't okay. And unfortunately, I didn't do that in that moment. So the evening continued. We got into her van.
This is assault, plain and simple. Because let's be clear, for anything romantic or physical to happen between two people, there must be consent. Without that, it immediately becomes assault. What we're seeing here is Lexity taking advantage of someone who trusted her, someone who had confided in her, and then using that trust as leverage for her own gain. And the fact that Marcy did not feel comfortable enough to speak up at the moment makes it even more disturbing, because it shows how Lexity was clearly exploiting the situation. But as bad as that was, what followed was even more alarming. Instead of backing off, Lexity then began to play mind games. To be specific, she pulled what is often called the rejection syndrome, telling Marcy things like "nobody loves me" in an attempt to break her down emotionally after she refused her advances.
Partner, and why everyone else she encounters can find a partner for themselves, but she never can. And then it kind of got weird where she was kind of directing it towards me, and she was like, why can't I be good enough for you? What, like, I'm right here. Like, why can't I just provide for you and love you and care for you in the way that you need? And I'm in the passenger seat, like, what is happening? Because there's no way that this person took one phone call of me needing like relationship advice and having a hard time to like trying to convince me that.
At that point, it was no longer about friendship or even attraction. It was about power, control, and manipulation. And this behavior didn't just expose Lexity's anger issues, it reveals something even darker. her willingness to blur boundaries, dismiss consent, and attack someone's confidence when she doesn't get her way. But that's not all. As they moved further into the night, Lexity continued to make advances on Marcy, clearly hoping she would eventually have a change of heart. She kept asking if Marcy would love to be intimate, almost as if repeating the question enough times would get her the answer she wanted. But Marcy refused every time, pushing the thought away and making it clear she wasn't interested.
Anastasia kept asking if I wanted to be intimate with her, which I had to keep reminding her no. I don't. Just because I find her attractive doesn't mean shit. Okay, I set my boundaries from the get.
By the end of the evening, the constant pressure became too much. Marcy grew so uncomfortable with everything that had happened that she completely broke down in tears. She told Lexity she just wanted to go home, saying she was exhausted from the level of toxicity that had taken over the night. It wasn't just the unwanted advances, it was the manipulation, the guilt-tripping, and the emotional weight that had been placed on her shoulders.
I didn't know what the plan was for the night, but I was ready to go home. So I asked Anastasia if I could go home. And she said yes, but she made me feel bad about it. Back to where I'm getting dropped off. And Anastasia is upset that I'm going back to my boyfriend's house and not staying with her. And she tells me, basically, like, I just can't believe you're going with him and not with me. And I was like, and I started crying in front of her. And I was like, hey, dude, I just needed a friend tonight. I'm going through my own things as well, and I'm very sorry if I...
Now, all of these points towards something much bigger than just one bad night. It shows a clear pattern. The feeling that Lexity will do almost anything to get into an emotional relationship at all costs. It doesn't seem to matter who it is or whether that person is even interested. Once she sets her sights on someone, she tries to push, persuade, or manipulate them into becoming more than just a friend. And this isn't speculation. It's something Lexity herself has admitted on several occasions. She has publicly expressed that without being in an emotional relationship, she doesn't feel like herself. In her own words, she has said that she needs to survive.
Hey, sweet pea. So sometimes when I tell people I need a romantic relationship in order to feel fulfilled, they go, oh my gosh, you shouldn't need a romantic relationship. You should just want that. You should work on yourself until you don't need people anymore. But the reality is, a romantic relationship is like the main thing I want in life. You know, I want to find someone who's willing to spend their life with me so I can share my entire life with them and they can share their entire life with me. That's my main goal in life. So if I don't find the main thing I'm looking for, I'm not exactly going to feel fulfilled in life, am I? You know, does that make sense? And no, I'm not jumping into any old relationship just because I'm afraid to be alone. I'm very self-reliant, and I've been alone for quite a while, despite the fact that a lot of people are very interested in me. I'm still alone because I'm not just jumping into any relationship. That doesn't change the fact that I will never feel fulfilled unless I get the main thing I'm looking for, which happens to be a committed, loving, healthy, romantic relationship. And it's weird that you keep projecting that that's an unhealthy thing for me to want.
This mindset is what makes her actions so concerning. It creates a cycle where boundaries are ignored, friendships are misread, and people like Marcy are left feeling used and emotionally drained. At the end of the day, all of these stories, whether it's Marcella, Marcy, or even the way Lexity deals with her audience, show us a repeated cycle. A cycle of anger, manipulation, and a desperate need of control wrapped in the disguise of connection. And while she claims that relationships keep her alive, the reality is that the way she goes about it pushes people away and leaves scars behind. This is why so many viewers are now starting to question her actions. Because when boundaries are ignored, when friendships are twisted into false romances, and when every disagreement turns into shouting or abuse, it stops being content and starts becoming a real-life problem. Lexity might have built her name quickly, but if these patterns continue, then her downfall could be just as fast. And that's the real tragedy here. Not just the collapse of her relationships, but the damage done to those who once trusted her enough to let her in, because having struggles is not an excuse. She knows exactly what she's doing, and the only reason she's gotten away with it this long is because people kept giving her sympathy instead of holding her accountable. Well, not anymore. This has been Lexity, a narcissist, manipulator, predator, and abuser. She does not need a platform. Get her off the internet. So, what do you think? Should Lexity finally be held accountable for everything she's done? Or do you think she'll just find another way to play the victim once again? Share your thoughts with us in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And when you're done, click on the next video on your screen. You wouldn't want to miss it.